move through rooms filled with warm smiles that hide cold intentions, where polite nods conceal poised blades. In deals, in power plays, in ordinary days, there are always people who would rather see you fall than rise. The question has never been whether such people exist. The only question is whether you are ready for them. Imagine holding 18 iron rules that tilt the field in your favor. Principles honed like razors that once grasped will alter how you understand authority forever. To learn how these principles translate into real psychological leverage, subscribe to Dark Psychology Decoded to uncover the unseen mechanics behind control and influence. This is not a sermon about fairness. This is a manual for endurance. Survival belongs to those who refuse to be gentle when the world is not. It belongs to those who can do what the timid will not, and who accept that mercy without prudence invites ruin. A cramped chamber breathes darkness. One candle shakes, and the silhouette of a Florentine thinker crawls along the stone, as though the past itself leans in to teach. The world does not pay the kindly with crowns. It pays the clever with influence. Empires do not grow on warm intentions. They rise on leverage, resolve, and control. You may want to believe goodness alone secures victory, but history has a quiet grin for the naive. Those who directed nations did not stumble into dominance. They followed methods that bit. Tonight the methods are placed on the table. The first is plain: do not lean on charitable smiles. Charity on the tongue can be a hook beneath the surface. Goodwill, untested and unstructured, is a mirage that leads wanderers to thirst. People act from appetite, fear, and necessity. When what benefits them lines up with what benefits you, they beam and flatter. When it no longer does, they pivot without apology. Recognize this rhythm without rage or moral fuss, and use it rather than cursing it. Depending on goodwill is tying your fate to a gust of air. Those who trust wind vanish with weather. Anchor yourself instead to something heavier than feelings, because the tide of affection is fickle and storms come without notice. If you build on vapor, you collapse with it. If you build on weight, you stand. The world runs on edges and incentives. Loyalty often dresses like affection, but underneath it is a contract measured in gain and safety. A person remains faithful so long as faithfulness pays. When it stops paying, allegiance migrates to the highest bid in certainty, status, or shelter. You cannot indict human nature for being what it is. Sailors do not scold the sea because it has waves. They build a vessel that rides through them. In the same way, construct your position on structure, necessity, and deterrence, not on verbal promises that dissolve on contact with heat. Goodwill is smoke. Self-interest is granite. Consider a leader lifted by charm, easy gifts, and public praise. Courtiers sing, soldiers clap, partners vow forever. War arrives, coffers dry. Suddenly the songs end, the barracks thin, and the faithful cross the river to a richer camp. The crowd spits the name it once chanted. Nothing mysterious occurred. Their loyalty was never to the man. It was to the stream of profit and protection he provided. When the stream ran dry, so did their devotion. These figures are not undone by enemies as much as by soft trust placed on soft ground. Misplaced trust is sabotage you do to yourself. Design your plans on firmer materials: respect, deterrent force, and dependence. Make people require you more than they adore you. Need drills deeper than attachment. A person may betray a beloved companion if it will preserve skin and savings. That same person will not harm the source of their oxygen. True advantage grows not from being liked, but from being indispensable. This is not a call to cruelty. It is a call to realism. When you cling to goodwill, you hand your steering wheel to strangers. When you study motives, you take it back. Clear sight is a blade finer than steel. Read people by incentives, not by slogans. Do not ask whether they feel warmly toward you. Ask how remaining with you helps them, and how leaving you would hurt them. Then keep that calculus permanent. Engineer your value so their plans, prestige, and income sag without your presence. When someone's welfare is yoked to your approval, their fidelity becomes policy, not sentiment. This is how crowns remain on heads and how directives get followed. Those who trade on affection often lose both esteem and leverage. Those who trade on necessity guard both for the long haul. Even in friendly circles, goodwill is brittle. People cheer you freely when it is cheap. They vanish when loyalty begins to cost. Treat this as the quiet law of crowds. Do not lament it. Build with it. Frame agreements as exchanges. Reinforce with reward. Enforce with consequences. And sink the anchor of dependence deep enough that storms do not shake it loose. Give carefully. Distribute favors in a pattern, not as reflex. If you hand out abundance without design, you teach others that your resources are bottomless and your boundaries are faint. If you give selectively, you teach that your approval is earned and your door is not a public well. Wear generosity like armor that protects your position, not like skin that exposes you to every claw. When you open your hand, let it seem gracious, but let it always serve a plan. Lavish, thoughtless princes bleed respect. Measured patrons harvest control. Authority demands equilibrium, enough softness to ease the eye, enough planning to escape the cliff. Here lies another unkind truth. Those who live for applause become slaves to it. They are moved not by purpose, but by the fear of losing a crowd. The dread of displeasing others turns their spine into wax. A ruler chasing universal approval satisfies nobody and eventually kneels to the whims he wanted to please. The person who accepts that goodwill evaporates learns to govern himself first and then others. If sweet assurances sway you, remember this rule. Promises of loyalty are minted during weakness and redeemed into betrayal when strength returns. Do not collect promises. Build conditions. Construct environments where the price of betrayal is unbearable or the option simply does not exist. Fear accomplishes what speeches cannot. Dependence delivers what affection will not. Understanding achieves what blind faith never could. The masquerade of goodwill has collapsed states, unseated chiefs, and wrecked men who misread fondness as necessity. To prosper, look at the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. Moral talk is a luxury in calm weather and a blade for the cunning during storms. See the bones beneath the skin. Only then can you carve it to match your will. Never lay your future on the sliding dunes of affection. Lay it upon the rock of need, the architecture of deterrence, and the arithmetic of advantage. When you do this, you stop begging for allegiance. You issue it. You stop hoping for support. You shape it. In a marketplace where every hand counts its own coins, become the one vendor no one can afford to lose. Power is theater. Appearance governs the seats. People judge not by deep truth, but by the light hitting the stage. Most observers only notice what gleams. Learn to shine at will, even if that gleam is crafted. Look kind, upright, candid, and just. Under that polish, measure every motion as if your livelihood depends on precision. Because it does. The seasoned wielders of power always understood this riddle. Virtue can be instrument, not shackle. The fragile mistake virtue for a chain to bind themselves. The shrewd use virtue like clothing that opens doors. If you wish to ascend in a world drunk on surfaces, become both performer and builder. Perform the part the spectators adore. Build the framework they cannot see. People adore the image of goodness. They trust it lazily. They follow it cheerfully and discover their error when it is too late to reverse course. A virtuous mask is therefore a potent tool. It invites faith. It drops defenses. It buys you time to maneuver while others take naps. The craft is not simple trickery. It is managing the tension between image and essence. History boasts many who conquered under banners of mercy and reigned with ledgers of calculation. The leader who looks forgiving yet knows when to cut survives longer than the one who bleeds mercy without limit. Virtue without backbone is fragility, and fragility beckons wolves. Smile with purpose. Tell the truth when timing serves it. Wear humility as a cloak under which you move freely. In offices, campaigns, and private dealings, a name is armor and perception spends like money. If you sculpt how others see you, you influence how they handle you. When people believe you are fair, they overlook harsh measures. When they think you are wise, they excuse stumbles. When they assume you are honorable, they defend you more fiercely than you could defend yourself. The costume of virtue buys freedom to act as necessity requires. The wise do not struggle to be thought good by every mouth. They aim to be seen as good by enough eyes to keep space for action. Crowds admire paint and rarely scrape. Their blindness is a gift you can bank. Practice contrast. Be velvet on the surface and iron in the core. Speak with compassion while calculating leverage. Wear the easy grin while drawing the map. Offer comfort while costing the ledger. Most people refuse complexity. They want saints or devils, never both at once. Let them file you among the saints while you play the strategy others lack the nerve to play. This is not spite. It is necessary geometry. If you operate only with loud intent, you make yourself prey for those who value silence. Those who move in quiet corridors run the building. In every setting, two games unfold. One is public, vows, handshakes, ceremonies, alliances. The other is private, motives, pressure points, timing, and trade-offs. Master both boards. Perform virtue in the sunlight. Direct pressure in the shade. While others strain to prove sincerity, let sincerity be your veil rather than your confession. Let them display their hearts. Lock yours where they cannot reach. Their belief in your purity camouflages your accuracy. The underestimated opponent is the easiest to unmake. When you must cut, wrap the blade in velvet. Remove a rival for the sake of stability. Mute a detractor to defend unity. Consolidate power in the name of order and continuity. People will accept severity when it marches under a moral banner. They will follow rigid control if it arrives dressed like justice. They will kiss the hand that binds them if it claims to shield them. Turn necessity into duty and hunger into service. Speak with silk. Think with iron. Praise peace as you budget for conflict. Advertise loyalty while pricing betrayal. Bow with humility while remembering your stature. Reputation outruns facts and outlives them. Once you cultivate an image of integrity, even your calculated missteps will be defended as honest mistakes. People will fight for what they prefer to believe about you, even when evidence complains. Make them believe what helps you. One visible act of kindness can erase a ledger of quiet ruthlessness in the memory of witnesses. Crowds memorize theatrics, not intentions. Feed their eyes and they will not hunt your shadow. This is not double-dealing for its own sake. It is strategy in a world where naked transparency is punished. Total candor might be noble in a fable, but it is fatal in contest. If you spill every motive, you arm your hunters. If you forecast every move, you make yourself a calendar. Guard your core aims like treasure and reveal only what buys you space. The naive bear their feelings and are consumed. The practiced wear masks and dine. Effectiveness, not sincerity, buys outcomes. The figures who pair a virtuous surface with clinical execution command both admiration and caution. Admiration shields your advance. Caution prevents mutiny. Between love and fear lies the control you require. So rehearse the mask. Calibrate your tone. Let your language sound like a sermon while your mind runs like an abacus. In societies that judge by appearance, those who persuade best rise furthest. The apex belongs to the convincing, not the pure. Those who harmonize glow and grit become difficult to touch because they have captured both heart and head. Power begins with information. Knowledge is the silent blade that separates leaders from followers, winners from footnotes. Whoever shapes information shapes understanding, and understanding shapes reality for the crowd. Truth alone does not run the world. Data, selected and framed, does. The gatekeeper of what is seen and said steers beliefs and choices. Think of intelligence as currency. Armies take hills, but intelligence decides which hill deserves blood. Survivors across ages knew that visibility must be managed. Reveal too much and you feed your enemies. Reveal too little and you drain your supporters. The art is balance. Show enough to be trusted. Hide enough to be untouchable. Let people feel they know you while they walk past your true design without noticing the door. In every struggle, boardroom battles, civic contests, or quiet family feuds, the person directing the flow of facts occupies the invisible throne. Crown or no crown, picture two contenders. One speaks generously, narrating plans and doubts, assuming that honesty cements trust. The other listens, collects, and releases only what strengthens his foothold, all while mapping the soft edges of the room. The talker becomes a pattern anyone can read. The listener becomes a riddle that strikes at convenience. Silence, when chosen, is deadlier than chatter. Words are implements, not confessions. Do not talk to fill air. Talk to produce effect. Make each line carry freight. Let your pauses hold weight. Vanity pushes others to overshare. Let them. The person who listens steers. The one who spills becomes a book you can index. Use silence to cultivate mystery, and let mystery grow respect. People fear what they cannot measure and defer to what they cannot predict. Control of information is more than hiding facts. It is sculpting them. Learn to craft narratives. Shape interpretation so that belief, judgment, and memory bend toward your aim. Facts are only half of the sculpture. Meaning carves the rest. If people conclude that your drive serves the common good, ambition appears selfless. If they conclude your aim is pure, your maneuvers resemble duty. Command the story and you command the verdict. Audiences follow voice and posture as much as substance. Confidence, clarity, and consistency draw them like light draws moths. Own the message and you own the crowd. Practice invisibility in the information game. Never lay your entire hand on the cloth. Share in slices that suggest wholeness. Allow observers to stitch fragments into a picture that favors you. Release pieces that imply transparency while your core remains opaque. Seed confirmations that make your allies secure while they unconsciously repeat the themes you planted. Give rivals maps that lead them to comfortable errors. A controlled leak can be a steering wheel. An absence can be a fog in which only you carry a compass. Remember, people forgive what they think they understand. Give them just enough to believe they do. Keep the rest where only you can see it. Mask your intent behind poise and measured calm. Display confidence with a trace of vulnerability while your true design remains veiled. This is not malice dressed as charm. It is disciplined self-preservation. People who bear everything paint targets on their backs, while those who reveal nothing drift beyond reach like phantoms. And phantoms cannot be seized. Study everyone within your orbit. Every person leaks signals in speech, pauses, laughter, and the way they rearrange their face when truth approaches. Tune your senses to what slips between their words. Note what remains unspoken, what topics they swerve away from, which names tighten their jaw. In omissions, the buried facts breathe. Whoever identifies what others conceal holds the handle of control. Information is leverage, shaping ruin, elevation, or quiet obedience based entirely on how you wield it. The adept ruler need not shout orders. He murmurs direction into chosen ears, then lets talkative foes damn themselves and grateful allies become dependent on his insight. Influence built from knowledge eclipses brute force. Authority flows from what you know and how you channel it. When your intelligence becomes the water others must drink, they serve by choice and necessity, drawn by what you can reveal and restrained by what you might disclose. Do not sneer at whispers. A single suggestive breath can dissolve a standing reputation faster than loud accusations. The cunning turn rumor into both blade and shield. If a rival's profile begins to swell, you need not present proof. Seed doubt. Let uncertainty quietly oxidize his image while your own remains polished. Crowds prefer stories to spreadsheets. Supply a narrative that lifts your position. Perform shock at the storm you summoned from a distance. Wear innocence while your adversary collapses under the weight of speculation. In the contests of influence, reputation becomes reality, and reality is sculpted by the tale people repeat. When prying eyes search your depths, hand them decoys. Feed them fragments that misdirect, comfort, or occupy their attention. Let them believe they cracked your code. The softest untruth is the most dangerous precisely because it invites trust. When opponents act on faulty maps, their missteps become your pathway. Controlling information is more than safeguarding facts. It means wielding ignorance like a crafted instrument. Guard your core plans like a fortress. Once a secret escapes, it never entirely returns, and each spill weakens your walls. Share only what reinforces your foothold while veiling your trajectory. Even confidants should receive no more than the slice required for their function. Allies shift with seasons. Today's partner can pivot into tomorrow's competitor. Compartmentalize your life. Construct layers and cutouts so that even betrayal cannot strike your center. Build redundancies and leave no single person holding the whole map to your citadel. Power is anchored in what is known, by whom, and when. Humans fear what they cannot measure. Direct that fear by governing what they learn. People follow those who radiate certainty. Shape their belief and you inherit their movement. Speak sparingly to harvest insight. Listen expansively to steer the room. Treat truth not as a blunt sword, but as a resource, stored, refined, and distributed in measured doses. Once you embrace this, you cease merely playing the game. You begin to write its rules. Yet knowledge alone is not enough. Timing binds strategy to impact. Waiting is the most beautiful disguise for surrender. Hesitation pretends to be prudence while your adversary advances. The instant you surrender the initiative, you place yourself in response mode. The wise extinguish danger at the spark, not the blaze. To strike first is not cruelty. It is continuity. History is penned by those who acted while slower minds still debated the weather. Train yourself to sense treachery before it speaks. Most intentions arrive without announcement. They leak through micro-expressions, changed cadences, stiff pauses where banter once flowed. The careless dismiss these flares as paranoia. The disciplined treat them as prelude. Trust your internal barometer when it rumbles. Human impulses do not retire. Greed, envy, and hunger for rank repeat their patterns from the age of emperors to the hour on your clock. Excessive flattery often hides irritation. Sudden reluctance from an ally signals a plan forming in shadow. The world displays signs to anyone who dares to look without sentiment. Old Florentine counsel advised injuries delivered at once, leaving no path for reprisal. The same logic governs preemption. When you must move, do it wholly. Half measures invite revenge, full measures extinguish it. If you smell a faction gathering, disperse it before it gels. If a rival's reach expands, soften his base before it hardens. Do not wait for perfect proof. Certainty is a luxury purchased by those comfortable with loss. Consider who hesitated. Cautious kings who misread the tide and forfeited crowns, generals who delayed and fed their armies to smarter storms, executives who dodged confrontation and watched bolder hands take the market. The world rewards command, not timidity. To influence the next chapter, sculpt this one. Anticipation sits atop the ladder of intelligence. The steadiest leaders erase threats before they form a silhouette. This reaches into alliances as much as rivalries. Influence also favors first movers. If you do not plant your flag, someone else will claim the hill. Power dislikes vacuum. It rushes toward the confident. Opportunity rarely forms a line at your door. Those who wait for ideal conditions donate their future to the decisive. Action generates its own weather. First strike is not blind aggression. It is measured design. Observe before you touch the board. Map your opponent's rhythm. Where he relaxes, where pride outpaces caution, where posture betrays soft edges. Then act with speed and aim. Move so decisively that by the time comprehension dawns, the window is closed. This is not rage, it is control. The most dangerous player smiles while arranging the pins, keeps steady when others jitter, and appears calm while quietly pulling threads. Diplomacy obeys the same logic. If coalitions tighten around you, make the first alteration. Change the terrain, reorder incentives, recast the terms so that others must answer your move. Whoever initiates frames the narrative. Whoever responds is already explaining. Every negotiation, campaign, or ascent begins with this choice. Either you choreograph events, or events choreograph you. The art is subtlety. Preemption does not always strike with noise. Words can shift loyalties without a knife drawn. Silence can isolate a rival without a public scene. Timing can deny him oxygen by winning the room an instant before he arrives. A true strike does not require blood. It requires the removal of options. Reduce pathways until your counterpart's choices serve your design. By the time he recognizes the narrowing corridor, the end of the hall is yours. Remember that mercy, if placed in the wrong hands at the wrong time, compels self-harm. Adversaries who intend harm read kindness as softness and softness as permission. If you must neutralize a threat, do it cleanly and conclusively. Do not allow a wounded antagonist to retreat and regroup into something reckless. Finality is not spite, it is maintenance. The world does not weep long for those who stumble. It does not forget the calm hand that acted with purpose. Condition your instincts to locate the earliest opening. If a competitor starts to climb, loosen the rungs beneath him by cooling his alliances, exposing mild contradictions, or absorbing his backers with better terms. If a subordinate's ambition tilts the balance, redirect him upward into ceremonial prominence where influence goes to die, or pit courteous equals around him who owe you more than they owe their pride. If discontent germinates within your circle, find its root before it flowers. Prune without spectacle. These moves may look severe to spectators who study only surfaces, but to the strategic mind, they are preventive medicine. Human conflict pulses, build-up, hesitation, release. Those who wait for release always arrive late. Move during build-up, before attention shifts, before everyone is ready. Surprise multiplies force. Force impressed upon surprise yields fear. Fear, correctly calibrated, breeds respect. Respect, consistently earned and enforced, matures into control. Empires do not topple in a single thunderclap. They loosen through neglected moments. A slow drift of tiny delays, modest resignations of will, and minor compromises creates fatal gaps. Leaders do not fall all at once. They fail first in decisions they postpone. The practiced prevent the first fissure. They act not from temper, but from foresight, with moves drafted in quiet and executed with economy. The strike, properly understood, is not savagery. It is architecture. It preserves framework before rot spreads. Those who live by this principle do not merely meet reality. They impose a contour upon it. Those who stall become exhibits in someone else's lesson. The scepter has never favored the merely virtuous. It travels to the strategic. The world records outcomes, not moral scores. Fairness makes a soothing lullaby for the uncertain. Advantage is the grammar of the strong. To dominate complex games, see past theatrics, wishful motives, and comforting myths. Act from calculation. Cloak your calculus in qualities the public admires. Manage the optics. Curate what eyes see, and shepherd what ears hear. Control becomes easier when you master the flow of perception. Move first when danger gathers. Preempt and influence a narrative as surely as in operations. These are not casual guidelines, but survival doctrines hammered by centuries of trial. The timid petition for justice. The capable build it to their measure. Those who internalize these severe truths stop taking the world as given. They define the scale, the lighting, and the script. They do not beg the future for mercy. They design it, limit it, and claim it, one deliberate stroke at a time. Add to your craft with disciplined habits. Stage small disclosures to test loyalty and record who leaks first. Seed distinct details in separate channels to trace betrayal back to its source. Rotate confidences so no one person gathers the full pattern. Use proxies to carry messages you must never speak in your own voice. Build deniability by separating instruction from attribution. Countercheck flattering reports with quiet auditors who owe you alone. Maintain parallel plans so you can pivot without stall if an arm of your design breaks. Plant decoy ambitions to lure rivals into public overreach, then let them exhaust themselves, proving a case you never intended to argue. Shape meetings by setting the first frame, the last summary, and the follow-up note. Whoever writes the record owns the memory. Treat attention like currency and silence like capital. Spend attention where it purchases leverage, and hoard silence until it buys mystery. When tempted to over-explain, stop. A crisp sentence and a longer pause often achieve more than a sermon. Make questions do your work. The right question compels others to reveal maps you never needed to draw. Respect the physics of reciprocity. Give small, precise benefits that tighten bonds without creating entitlement. Place deadlines under kindness so favors cannot be rolled forward forever. Remember that influence thrives on momentum. Each clean win compounds the next. Keep your footprint light, your files organized, your circle pruned, and your legend modest. The less you must say about your power, the more others will say it for you, and their saying cements it. Finally, polish the duality that keeps you unassailable. Let your public style radiate steadiness, fairness, and restraint. Anchor private action in calculation, timing, and steel. Appear approachable while remaining unreadable. Diffuse conflicts in public with gracious phrasing, even as you rearrange the board in private. Credit others generously for outcomes that ultimately serve your design. Anticipate resentment and neutralize it with recognition before it hardens. Keep a ledger of concessions and collect on them with elegance, never pettiness. When you must reverse a promise, offer a larger horizon in exchange. When you must deny a request, provide a reason that flatters the petitioner's importance. Rule your temper, govern your face, and let your standard be this: move first, think longer, reveal less, finish clean. Those who study appearances will admire you. Those who study outcomes will respect you. Both camps will learn to step where you point.